St. Shakti Open School.
See, last year, I created that schedule that showed all the construction activities and all the school activities. It never happened this year.
No.
So there we go.
Put everything up and running.
Yeah,
Labels, shut offs, everything was good.
everything.
Well, 3 minutes.
Most of
I
the units going.
went up on day before, on Monday, and we had one problem, one fan, maybe one unit, shut down.
I got to hand it to the guys with building management systems and all the electronics and that for the HVACs. I think that's probably, it's more complicated than all the electrical systems.
Put it this way, it's both Kevin and my paper.
Hey,
It's not
It's
easy.
awful.
okay, good. Okay. All right, as long as you can dial in. Thanks. Thank you. Kathy is stuck on 291, but she's going to zoom in. Yeah.
You'll need to unlock your iPhone first.
So they, on the one down the street
Just-
here, they delayed that.
Yeah, the police dispatch is packed, downstairs is packed, upstairs is packed. Leave it the way it is.
Problem is, if the contractor now, they're just gonna push low income housing there. They can push low income housing there all day long, there's nothing down to do about it.
Yeah.
So you turn them down on that housing, but just push low income, that's it.
No, it's, Southfield's income is, it's based on the 80% of the income, the town's income. So it's still reasonable income. And the 830G allows, a certain percentage.
You ready, Kev?
Yep, I'm ready.
Recording in progress.
Okay, welcome everybody and thank you for being here at the Permanent Building Commission regular meeting on August 20th at 6 p.m. I'd like to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. On the PBC roll call, we have Kathy checking in right now, and Brian Burrill said he will not be here tonight, but everybody else is here, Chris.
Okay.
If the people from Colliers could just introduce yourselves and state your name for the record. Chuck?
Sure. Tony
Right.
DeLucio, Colliers Project Managers. Sorry, Chuck.
No problem. Chuck Warrington, Regional Director, Colliers Project Leaders.
Okay, and Tecton, please.
Sure. Jeff Wazinski, Principal at Tecton Architects.
Rebecca Hopkins, Project Manager, Associate at Tecton.
Okay, and that should be all of the,
Lee,
Please,
Corporate
Lee.
Director of Public
Lee.
Works.
Oh, I almost forgot. I saw it there, even with the new haircut. Okay, I would like to open this up for public comment. If anybody in the room has comments. Anybody? How about on Zoom? Is anybody interested in making a comment on Zoom?
Look like it.
Okay, there will be a chance at the end of the meeting as well if anybody feels the need. It's already that time of year where we're trying to set calendars for next year, and rather than trying to scramble in December, we pretty much know we're going to meet hopefully on the third Thursday of the month for our regular meetings. The only question is, do we want to continue at 6 o'clock? How has that worked out for the last year? Or do we want to schedule these back to the 7 o'clock time? Right now, I'm proposing 6 o'clock, third Thursday of the month. Any comments from the commission? Anybody?
6 o'clock is good.
Six works.
I'll take a motion to
Get home
approve the
early.
2027 schedule.
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chairman, to approve the, as written, the 2027 PBC calendar.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. That one's done. Chris, I have copies for you.
Yep.
Approval of the minutes, we are a bit behind, and there is a special meeting that was just held that we, minutes were just published, so we don't have that for approval tonight. I'd like to do these one at a time. We're going all the way back to May 21st, which was a special joint meeting. If you go to page 2 in your handout, there is a quick summary of each of those meetings if you just need to jog your memory about what happened there. And I can give you a minute if you need it. When anybody's ready, I'll take a motion for approving the minutes for May 21st.
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes for May 21st, 2026.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, May 28th.
Make a motion to accept the minutes from May 28th, 2026.
Second?
Second.
Bill?
Yeah.
Second. Okay, all in favor? Okay. And then Tuesday, June 16th, which was a special meeting, Silver Petroselli, final plans for the sloped roof.
Make a motion to accept the minutes for the special meeting on Tuesday, June 26th. June 16th, excuse me, 2026.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, June 18th. I have one correction on that minutes. Letter I, we have, I'm sorry. There was a statement in there that the minutes of the regular meeting held on June 4th were to be approved, but that meeting never happened, so I don't know how you correct that, Chris, but if we approve
All that
it-
happens is I will put in this set of minutes that a
That
correction
corrects
to be
that.
made, yeah, you just follow.
Okay, so I will take a motion for June 18th minutes approval with the
Correction.
correction.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes for the, on Thursday, June 18th, with the corrections, removing the minutes from the regular meeting on June 4th.
Second?
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you so much.
Aye.
Thank you, Kathy. And the minutes for the special meeting on August 13th, we'll deal with that at the next meeting. Okay. 6 and 7 or 7 and 8?
6 and 7.
Okay,
So, no, I'm sorry, 7 and 8 are swapping.
okay.
So we'll go 6 and then 8.
Can you give me your updates on your
Yeah, we'll do 6
Bruce
first.
Park?
Yep. So Bruce Park Bridge connecting the high school to the large animal facility. We've reached out and hired Dayton Construction to do the work. The total project cost is $286,000. Of that, on August 10th Board of Education meeting, the board approved $100,000 from their funding to put towards the project. So the town's picking up 186 plus all the costs so far, which has been about 40. And then the schools are gonna kick in 100. Dayton is currently waiting for the vendors to let them know when they can have the material delivered. So we're hoping maybe end of October they can start on construction.
Okay, so it is funded and scheduling is happening.
Yes.
Great.
Whatever happened to the load rating? I know that, when there was a load rating report, there was going to be an engineer back and forth. Did that ever get resolved, or
Yes.
your engineer of record is taking?
We got it approved for the low rating.
Okay.
Is that within the new design, or is that the existing structure?
The existing structure was approved. It was the decking material that we were gonna use and the guardrails
Okay,
instead of railings.
great. How about controls on this have anything else that we should know about?
Yeah, I'm currently writing the RFP for the police department HVAC system.
Okay.
So I'll have that done, sent over to you. I'm looking to put that out for next Thursday.
All right, so I'll get that out to everybody, if everybody can just comment what you see, what you don't see, what you'd like to advise Lee on getting it completed. Okay, anything else?
That should be it for now.
Okay. So, if we could, just flip-flop number 7 and 8, so we can do the firehouse update ahead of the school facilities update. Larry Plano is not here. Matt will be giving us that update, and because Lee has someplace he needs to be, it'll just get him out of there. So any objections to flipping 7 and 8 on the agenda?
I'll make a motion to flip them. Okay?
All in favor? Aye. Okay, thank you. So let's start with the firehouse update planning. Tony, can you lead us into where we're at now and what we
Yes,
need to
sure.
do to move
Thank you.
along? Okay.
Thank you, everyone. We're going to have a nice update here very shortly. You see Rebecca's posting up her presentation. Over the past few weeks, we did in fact have a little miscommunication on the geotech and the borings for the annex site, but we were able to get those completed. We received the Welty initial report and findings, and Collier's prepared the memo, having reviewed that and put that out to you all. Starting with the good news, borings were done. We didn't hit any pipes, we didn't find any arrowheads, we didn't hit any bones. All those things that can really send a project sideways. We didn't encounter any suspect material or anything that would trigger otherwise. There is evidence of, quote, moisture in that 5 to 7 foot depth, which is basically bottom of footing, kind of in the work zone, if you would, of where we're going to be digging for the proposed building. The actual water table, given the seasonal where we are, is down somewhere 10, 12 feet, some places even deeper. So while we have good soils, mostly common fill, not a bunch of urban fill as we call it in there, we do see, because of the slope, it's going to be cut, fill, balancing of the site. We feel from the conclusion that it's generally a spread footing, slab on grade, shouldn't require any real earthwork beyond normal standards for the building of this size and the foundation that was being proposed. So all good news there. We will, when we get to the final part of the study, working with Tecton and the estimators, we'll figure out whether we should carry allowances somewhere for dewatering or other moist soil mitigation efforts as needed. But that will come in somewhere in the 60-day range when we start to get a little bit more nailed down on the building side. Anybody have any questions on geotech while the slide is up and the topic is at hand?
No. Anybody? Questions? No?
If not, my only other update is we had missed a couple of meetings, as Kevin alluded to. We've had a couple cancellations. The posted schedule that is on the shared drive has now been updated, at least as far as the firehouse. One portion of it is a combined schedule. You can go on and click for fire or school, or leave it as a combined document, however you'd like to sort through it. That is up to date as of today, and pending any schedule modifications, discussions we have today, I'll update that again in the morning as needed, if need be, and that will be ready to go for your viewing and distribution.
Tony, question for you on the schedule.
Yep.
Do you have the benchmark events for all of our approval deadlines?
We don't have those in there right now for the next 60 days. We're going to hear about the design work plan between now and estimates back,
Okay.
and then we'll fill that in based on our work with Tecton over the next 48 hours.
All right, we just want to make sure that we are not holding you up, and we want to
Yep.
make sure we're doing our part.
Now, you're going to hear very shortly, how Tecton goes through from a concept through a study package. We will be having meetings to really nail down internal flow, operational flow, and continuity within the proposed building, offices, tweaking design, tweaking site location, elevations, materials, all of those elements that need to go into a pricing package, from heating and cooling systems, building systems, generators, siding, roofing, material selections, finishes. We need to work through all of those criteria in the next 60 days.
Okay. Who's next?
That's the update from the OPM side.
Okay. Before you start,
Please.
Chris, can you turn off that side panel and make the slides a little bigger? Hopefully that doesn't cut everybody off. There we go. That's better. Okay.
Okay. So I will focus on the fire station project. If you want, I can jump to that. We also have preliminary survey results, which kind of apply to both projects. So would you like to touch on those now, or do you want to wait until later?
Let's go through the building and then we'll touch on the survey.
Great. Okay. So to Tony's point, he kind of just gave the recap of the geotechnical investigation. So I will not continue to kind of detail that, but those were the major takeaways. Major conclusion: does not identify any significant geotechnical conditions requiring redesign, repositioning, or anything of that nature. So just to kind of bring everybody back up to speed, or a reminder of where we left off in our previous conversation. So the final program basis of design was a gross square footage of 12,450 square feet. We did have an alternative additional program for the community training room and the sport spaces that increased the facility size to 14,120 square feet. So those were the only two programmatic options on the table, kind of your basis plus that small additional space. If you recall last time, we walked you guys through floor plans, which kind of executed this program in a block plan format. Those were more efficient than this programming. So we did a little better on our net to gross kind of adjustment in the actual execution of the plans. So the square footages associated with the options are slightly smaller, but it still meets the entirety of this program. I have those in this slide deck. I don't have them in the main body, but if we want to bring those up to remind folks, I can absolutely do that. These were the three options that we landed on. Again, both program options can be on any of the sites. So we can do kind of that basis, or we'll call it like an add alternate piece program on the annex site as a new construction. We can do it as an addition renovation to your current station, or we can do a new construction where your current station is. These were the three options that we kind of worked through previously. The scope of each one and kind of some of the pros and cons have been kind of talked through. So just to recap what those are. The first option was new construction on the annex site. First and foremost, no temporary facilities or operational impact during construction, because the existing firehouse would remain operational, meets all the programmatic needs. Modern drive-through bays, that was one of the compromises that we were unable to accommodate in any of the renovation schemes. Dedicated station while preserving that kind of town campus, and flexible future growth for service demands given the space available on that site. Some challenges: we did talk about a few modest constraints. You have fair amount of topography from west to east across the campus. So just being conscientious of how we're positioning the building, to Tony's point, making sure we're minimizing any required retaining walls or any, additional site development costs, keeping those in balance. And it would require annex demolition, so we would need to find a home for the departments that are currently in place there, and future planning for the existing station, what ultimately would become of that. Outside of our scope, but things to consider as a challenge of building a new station on the annex site.
Question for you.
Please.
Do we need to have a lot line moved?
That would probably be a question I would recommend presenting to the planning board. They're currently town-owned, but it is common that we've found that it is a consolidation of lot, or they want to maintain a separation, or they need to modify that delineation for
Right
addressing
now-
purposes
right
or
now
billing
we're crossing
purposes.
the line, right?
Correct. We are slightly over that delineation. Sometimes it comes down to, setbacks and things of that nature. So again, both town-owned, it would really just be a bit of a paperwork exercise, but I would advise that we seek insight from the planning board.
And Rebecca, I got one. In Max's report, he also talked about the groundwater table there. It could be like 5 foot below the surface. Right now it's like 7 to 10. And he's got the Marafi paper, 2 feet of crushed stone and standard footings.
Yep.
Doing the topography, he also brings up the fact maybe we could bring in some fill, pick that up. Have you looked at any of that, how that transitions to the road?
That would be our next step.
Okay.
We started looking at it
I'm asking too
preliminarily.
many questions.
No, it's great. We did start looking at it preliminarily when we were reading that report. I think he makes a good point, and to Tony kind of alluded to that cut and fill, like that balancing effort and where we position the building exactly. I do think we would be cutting on the east side of the building, filling on the west side of the building. But we need to make sure that we are as level as possible as that apron extends to the road. So that is just something we have to keep in consideration. Standard pedestrian vehicles can navigate those slopes much easier than, a large apparatus can. We don't want to slow them coming off the site at all. So just something we need to keep in mind in
So
keeping it level to the
if
street.
you do fill on the west side, and I think you had it on the side before, you were looking at roughly 5 feet.
Plus or
preliminary.
minus.
So we've got a auto dealership right next to the annex right now,
Here.
and it's already lower in grade, so now we're another 5 feet up. So we're looking at a wall on that side as well.
That's what we would like to, we need to look at it, and
Yeah.
we want to be very conscientious of not increasing those site development costs.
Right.
And if there is a way for us to kind of delicately balance that, that's what we're going to be looking to do, while also not trying to get into a dewatering situation.
Yeah,
So
just remember,
we've got to
the
kind of
walls,
find that
retaining
balance.
walls, they all cost big money today. Right?
Yep. I think it's just, we want to make sure that we're doing that,
Yep.
there'll be fine tuning, it's not major repositioning, but I think it'll be really important how we can kind of balance that grading across, and it is a relatively, it's a large parcels in totality, but it's a narrow development. We just need to make sure that we can manage that grade between ourselves and our neighbor. So that is definitely something we're gonna be looking at. We don't want too big of a slope across that parking lot either. So a few things we're gonna have to look at, and that is definitely, to Tony's point, a part of the next 60-day kind of conceptual package development. We wanna make sure we're fully capturing those as a part of that conceptual estimate. Okay. Second option was to do an addition renovation, would include kind of a renovate as new for the existing station, and then an addition that kind of wraps around the side and back. So it reuses the existing facilities and infrastructure, which is great. It leverages that existing asset, and it preserves the annex and any community investment that were made in either of these buildings. Some challenges. So temporary operations would be required during construction. It's something we're very familiar with, but it is a cost that we'd like to avoid. While we are renovating the base, the vehicles would need to be removed. We can do phased construction, but that will increase your general conditions, many things that you guys are already very aware of. So there is a cost impact with doing a renovation addition, just based on the temporary operations or potential extension of construction.
Rebecca,
Yes.
did we agree the fire commission on option 2, which was at the firehouse?
Yeah, I think that was their consensus by far,
Yeah.
with the additional training
So
space.
I think the direction we should send these folks into, instead of burning money up.
I get it. What we asked Rebecca to do is walk through the process so that we can make that final
Got
step.
you some money.
But yes, to your point, the fire commission did voice that this option was their preference, with the additional add of the training and community
Like to
space.
your point, she already had it on the slide with the 3 different cost valuations,
Yeah.
a couple of slides prior.
Right.
It's, the new site at the annex is just slightly more than, adding and renovating the existing site.
Right, and then that's something we've seen change over time. Those renovation costs have just increased, so they become more equitable. There's also a slight inefficiency. It was a relatively efficient plan, but it's not intentionally designed to meet this program, so there's some compromises. I think one of the major compromises to the addition renovation is we cannot accomplish drive-through bays on that site. So they would all be back in, we would be leveraging your existing bays, which handle smaller vehicles, are not equipped to handle your larger vehicles. So definitely, a compromise programmatically on your apparatus bay capacity, which is, inherent to their operational readiness and response. And then kind of just general parking and circulation constraints. We talked about that, I think, at length of, where are volunteers going, parking, how are they getting to the bays quickly, kind of with that, very linear, stacked site.
Also lack of future planning with this particular renovation versus the new site.
Yes, there is really no room to grow, especially given kind of, where we would be positioning that parking in the rear. Okay. So that third option, and again, I know that there was, the options on the board included the capital CIP improvement. We're just focusing kind of really on our scope related to those 3. But the benefits here, it maintains that current station location, so it stays kind of where it is today. And it does provide full-size apparatus bays, but it would definitely require temporary operations because we would be completely demoing their existing building, and definitely some potential emergency response disruptions. It's possible to stage vehicles at other stations, but just for everyone's edification, and for those listening online, it's not that simple because certain vehicles are staged in certain areas of towns for responsiveness, so we can't just move everybody to another station. So just something to consider when you're thinking through temporary operations.
From what I understand, all bays are full,
Yes.
so we don't have empty bays to move cars into.
Right.
Right.
And sometimes you can leverage, like, I've seen departments partner with a DPW department or other garage space. I've seen some departments rent a tent, which can be very, very costly, just to heat that over winter months. So it's a substantial cost, it's not an underline, it would be a major line item in our project development costs if that were to be required. Okay.
There's a lot of challenges with this plan as well, though.
Yes,
And it doesn't set us up for the future either.
same challenges as the addition renovation. Okay, so those were the 3 kind of options at a site test fit level. Again, is there any desire to see the floor plans again? I can bring them up if you would like, if
As long as
everyone's
they all meet
comfortable.
the
They all meet the
I don't
program.
think we need to study that again.
Yep, and to Tony's point, that is a part of our next step. That was a preliminary block plan.
That'll change.
It will change. It will, once we need to circle back with the department, really work through those adjacencies, talk through some fine tuning of those plans, and then that obviously will affect the exterior design of that building. So we want to make sure that it fits within this community. It's a municipal building. It should represent the community it serves. So we will kind of have a lot of back and forth with the department on kind of what that conceptual design looks like. And that will continue to develop as we go through. We want to hear feedback from the community as well on that. So, but it is a great way to solidify costs for materials and kind of think through the site positioning, to your point, and relative to site development costs. So that is really our next step, once one of these options is kind of solidified. So this is that timeline, just at a very high level. The remainder of our study phase is really a true conceptual design package. That in our mind is happening in September, October, so over the next 2 months. And then we need to send it out for a full cost estimation. So that would be complete by the end of November. After, if there is a successful referendum, one of the things that we just like to remind is that we have those standard design phases with estimation at the culmination of all of those phases, so that is something we'll continuously monitor all the way through the various design phases. And then it just gives you a sense of, if this moves at this rate, you would be looking at a fall of 2029 completion for the study phase for conceptual design. Tony started talking about, we've got to fine tune the floor plans, we've got to design the exterior, that will include elevations and some renderings, so folks can get a sense of potentially what it may start to look like. That is not a solidified design, it most likely will not look exactly the same when we build it. But again, it gives you a visual to kind of anticipate kind of the direction we are going. It's a great place to start to hear feedback from the community on whether or not they feel like it's going to fit. As a part of that, we will also bring in multiple engineers. They will begin to write narratives relative to potential site development costs, potential systems to be included so that the estimators have the appropriate means to price those pieces and components. Once that's sent to the estimator, we will go through it with them. There are a lot of assumptions at this phase, as you know. We're not handing over a set of 100 drawings for them to kind of piece through all the details. They are making assumptions. These are estimators that we have built multiple public safety buildings with, so they are very familiar with our quality and level of fit and finish, so these estimates do translate very well throughout all of those kind of various phases in the future. But we will go through it so that we ensure that the assumptions they are making align with what our intent is. So we will go through that process and then present that budget to this group.
Is there anybody online from the fire commission or the fire department?
Brian's
I'd just like to open it for any comments from them before we discuss it.
Hey guys, Chief Gothier here. You guys hear me?
Is that Brian? Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Brian,
Yeah,
any thoughts on the process so far? Has anything changed at the department since the department and the commission basically voiced their opinion about option number one?
Yeah, everyone's still in full agreement for option number one. I think it's just works all around for everything, including price, feasibility, and continuing. The most important thing to me is the continued operation and longevity of the building. So I think we're all in agreement for option number one.
Okay. Thoughts and comments from the
Another
commission?
one I have for Rebecca is we have the Suffield Village Association here. They love, just take pictures of the brick you got here. When you do a rendering, just make it look like everything else.
Okay.
Am I right?
I don't know about everything else.
They love brick and the antique stuff, that's, all right?
You
I
send
know
it to
that
the
costs
architecture
money,
of
that's,
the community.
Well, they have thin
Understood.
brick now,
Thank
so
you.
you can do it real,
Oh,
real lot cheaper than just facade with thin brick, antique thin brick.
I did just complete a public safety building on a municipal campus, and we were bringing brick samples out and holding them up to the various buildings to
Yeah.
make sure that all of our bases
Takes-
did align.
takes a
So I
bit-
completely
takes a
understand where
bit
they're coming
For
from.
those that are in construction.
But it's important that we take that in mind if we are gonna have a
Yeah.
specific brick, that they do want to align, it could impact cost. So we will work with, those standards
But
and
again,
what the
you
town
can
is
use
looking for.
thin
We just
brick
don't
where they
want a
just cut the
complicated
face. It's a
mess
lot
with
less
it.
expensive to just facade it, so we can get the look without the total cost of.
Yeah, we can look at a few different options there. Another thing Tony and I have also done is, if we're kind of straddling, like, ooh, we kind of like this, but we don't know if we can afford it, many times at this conceptual level, we can ask for a few various price breakouts, just so that you guys can have some decision, some information that you can make decisions on. So we're happy to do that as well, if that is, if we get to that point where we're like, oh, not sure, we want to price out this portion of the building, we're happy to do that, so that at least you know what the cost impact of that
Okay.
is.
It's good for you to know that we do have those implications on the building. It's gonna have to obviously complement this building. So now we'll have a town hall with 2 fire stations.
And those renderings, we're happy, so this is all through, this site right now, because of how these site plans were developed, is 3-dimensionally modeled. So some of those renderings, we can ensure that we kind of get the view of town hall, so people can kind of see how they
Great.
relate to each other, and it doesn't feel like it's in a standalone, green field.
So if
Kevin,
there.
Tony also has his hand raised, do you want to hear from him?
Tony, yes.
Hey, thank you. Lower my hand here. There we go. Rebecca touched on narratives. In this next 60, 90-day period, developing mechanical systems, electrical systems narratives, right? We're not going to have 37 fully engineered drawings, but it is important that we engage anybody from the community on a sustainability mechanical systems review, because these engineers are going to be developing those systems narratives. And our initial review at this stage is how sustainable do we want the building to be? We're gonna try to balance initial cost versus operating cost, long-term cost, and those types of questions. So it will be important 45, 50 days from now that we have the right people at the table to help us assess those mechanical systems.
Okay. We think we know who those people are, and they should be available in 45 days.
We will depend on you to corral them.
Okay. Any other comments from the table? I would entertain a motion from the table to choose a direction and head Tecton down that road.
All right, I'll make a motion, Mr. Chairman, based on the presentation from Tecton, that we head down the route that the fire commission and the fire chief asked. This is to explore building a new building down on the annex.
Option number one.
Option one.
Anybody second that?
I'll second.
Any comments? The one big advantage I see to this option is that it leaves behind the existing station, which can be transformed into a very valuable asset that we don't have right now. So while it is the lower expensive by a little bit, it leaves behind an asset that's worth way more than leaving behind the annex. So for that balance, those numbers could actually flip, calculate that value. There is a cost to the building left behind, but I think that it's not going to be major.
It's more work for Rebecca's team, actually.
Yeah, if we use it properly. So that's my comment on it. Any other comments before we vote? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Nobody against? The ayes have it. Head down option one.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your work on that. It was very helpful.
Including your time in the sun out at. That was a pleasure.
Okay, we're gonna switch over to the schools, and then before we look at the most, thank you, Tony. Before we
Good night,
get
all.
into the school construction project, just a facilities update. Matt, I think you have that for us? Is that Matt Dunbar on? Lose him when we switch?
Yes.
There we go.
Good evening.
Thank you for switching with us. We didn't ask
Sure.
you, but you did it anyway.
Hang on 1 second, let me just, oh, shoot. Trying to get back to the agenda, so I do them in order here. Kevin, you want to just read them off for me?
The Spalding brick?
Yes, so that is, we expect to have the bid documents back from Silver Petrozelli this week, or early next week at the latest. And so, depending on if you all feel the need to review that or what have you, we'd like to get those out as soon as possible. And then in terms of the Spalding bathroom, we decided to hold off on any work on that until next summer. We're going to do it all next summer rather than trying to get something done during the school year. We had entertained the possibility of maybe doing like a staff bathroom or something like that, something smaller, but I'm not really comfortable doing that given some of the work that might have to happen and then having to bring students back in. So the Silver Petrozelli recommended that we put that out to bid early in the new year so that, the pricing and all that will be appropriate. Any questions on the Spalding?
No, just a clarification. When you said next week we're gonna get bids in, are we sending the RFP out next week, or are we getting?
No, we expect to receive the RFP, the bid documents from Silver Petrozelli that we could then put out to bid.
Okay, so we're not gonna get a whole lot of brickwork done this year.
No, I mean, I imagine it's gonna be done in segments, just as it was, I believe, with, the intermediate school, with
Okay.
McAllister.
Okay. Sloped roof.
Sloped roof, I think, you got a pretty good update on that at the last meeting, from what I understand, but the low bidder was selected after being vetted. As, from what I understand, they're working now on getting the contracts prepared and signed. I think Derek Donnelly is being asked to review some things. We're hoping to start work on that probably mid-October.
Do you know who is notifying the low bidder and signing the contract documents?
I think they are aware already, but and the documents were incorporated into the RFP, but, we wanted the town to review that, the town legal to review that.
Okay. So we need to chase that down because it sounds like the contract has not been developed and signed for a start date.
Well, it has not been signed. It's right now, I believe we were asking the town attorney to review aspects of it and make any changes or things that he felt needed to be in there before things were signed.
Okay, I just want to make sure we don't miss something like that in the weeds.
Yep.
Okay. HVAC rooftop units.
The HVAC rooftop units are up, and as you know, the work has been completed, but they're working on balancing and on the controls and so forth. But I feel better about the progress that's been made on that. I think the contractor had people on site, a couple of people on site for a better part of last week, helping to make a lot of changes that needed to happen. And Kevin, I know you were up there. I don't know if you have an update on the testing that happened and the commissioning.
Yeah, Glenn and I were there.
Yeah, I was there the day before you had your conference in the library there, so basically on Monday afternoon, I went up to see, they did some, they had the level 3 tech there, and we had one unit when we go down. And they said, they called me later on that night, about 6 o'clock, and they found the problem, a couple wires that were messed up. But we were successful in the morning, on Tuesday morning, to the fire marshal on those big units, the ones over to the classrooms, the 2-story area, and for the one that serves the band room, and also the one that serves the auditorium. Yeah. So we gotta put some remote switches as a change order. I called Eric, I says, you got a little change order coming for some remote switches per the fire marshal. But those are all set. Everything,
Well, I'm glad to hear
we got AC running on everything, to my knowledge.
Yeah.
So the system.
I'm glad to hear that the unit serving the auditorium is working, because we'll have all of our staff in there on Monday morning.
Yeah, so Matt, all of the units are up and running, but they are not under thermostatic control, I'm gonna say. They are either on or off right now. The set points, all of the temperature set points is what they're working on next.
Yes.
So that they can set a temperature and maintain it.
Yeah, and that's important, obviously, but, my big concern was making sure that we had air, come start of school.
There may be some rooms you wanna ask people to wear a sweater.
That's fine. Much better that than the opposite.
Yeah, but that'll straighten out quickly.
Yeah.
Now that everything is running and all, now the attention is in the other direction.
Yeah.
We also have a commissioning team that is working downstream from the new units. So all of the ventilation units that direct the air that's being produced on the roof into the rooms. That commissioning work is basically on pause right now until they get everything up and running. They will be coming back the next available string of days that they can put together so that they can pull down some ceiling tiles and look at what's in the ceiling and how it's running. We'll get a big report from them about what was in the building downstream from the rooftop units. And there may be some work that has to get updated. Everything in the building is now 26, 27 years old. So there are things in the ceilings that are gonna have to be addressed at some point.
Yeah. You've got controllers on a lot of the dampers over the last 26 or 7 years that school's been there. Other vendors have come and changed, Matt. That's not compatible with this other guy's software, okay? So Kevin and I had a meeting with Salas O'Brien in the library the other day, and I said, listen, when school starts, let's get this, let them in here, and then we got a 3-day or 4-day weekend, you guys come back and work, okay? I don't want no disruption, okay, after school or anything, okay?
Right.
So.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, so they do have some plans to work like 2 to 6 shifts at the end of days, so there may be some coordination that has to happen to allow them access into portions of the building.
Larry was at that meeting, he knows.
Yeah.
Okay?
So as
Yeah,
long
we
as
will
communicate.
work that out for sure.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay, anything else, Matt, that we need to,
Matt, I want to add one item, okay, on that roof project, seeing that we're gonna hang the PV on it, we're gonna have a statement of special inspections, okay? That goes with that, okay? That's just to ensure that the contractor puts the right anchors, the right insulation. Just remember, you got to stand in the same roof here, and then what are you gonna clip on the front? You got a PV panel that's gonna cantilever up, okay? Last thing we need to have that thing is fail. So we're gonna have a statement of special.
it just means somebody is gonna be watching the engineering portion of that contract.
Right, and Eric knows
On
this.
the PV part of it?
No, the roofing part of it,
The
we gotta make
roofing
sure
part
the
of it.
roofing structure
I
will
could care
support
less
the
about the
PV.
PV part, okay?
Okay, was that already in the documents?
No, he's been working on it right along.
Okay.
I've been in your office a lot of times looking for you this summer, but he's been there.
Looking for me?
Been looking for you.
You were looking for me.
I'm
Well, I
only-
have
I'm only
people that
kidding.
look out,
I'm
I have
only
people that look out for you, so I know when not to be there.
It's a big building.
It's working.
No, Eric and I have had numerous meetings with Silver Petroselli, okay?
Yes,
All right?
Yeah.
He knows all about
thank
it,
you,
okay?
thank you. Yep, appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, let's move to Colliers and Tecton update on the middle school project, where we stand. Just to go back, at the end of May, we were heading in the direction pending soil testing, and we've just heard that the soil testing completed at the firehouse really didn't change anything that we planned on. We'll update tonight on what we found in the soil testing for the school project, and then later on, if necessary, we'll go into executive session to talk about the implications of that soil testing. But right now, Chuck, if we could hear from you on what the overall progress is, and from Collier's viewpoint, what are our deadlines coming up, and what do we need to be aware of?
Mine's gonna be fairly brief here, Kevin, but, again, the key thing, if we're gonna make with the March referendum date, that's really driving, right, the schedule, and, working backwards, full planning backwards from say, early March referendum. We have to have, if we're gonna move something forward, we're gonna have all our budgets, ed specs, everything in place, by the end of the year at a minimum. So really before the holidays, let's say December 15th, just as a target date, with a decision on which way we're going to go. So, that we have 4 months. That's going to move quickly, as I'm sure we've seen over the last year or so. But that can move really quick. So, if we're going to get something done and on a referendum for March, we have to move quickly with this. I know I'm going to leave it to Jeff, he's in the room there, so to go through the results of the geotechnical borings that were done on the backside of the school, north of the existing property. They're not as favorable as the firehouse. So I think with that, I'll pass it to Jeff to walk us through that and talk about the soils and those subsurface conditions and what those mean with respect to building a new facility on there. And then, as you said, talk about what is our alternative options given that information.
So Chuck, you mentioned December 15th. I know that you're kind of eyeballing that date. We have a deadline and a benchmark date of December 1st for our bond council.
That's better. Then that's better. Yep.
Yeah, so
Okay.
that's really our target date to have a neat package to hand over.
Perfect. I appreciate that. I know. Apologize for Scott not
That's
being
all
here.
right.
It's big shoes to fill, so I do appreciate that, Kevin.
All right, no problem. Just for the record, though. Okay.
Yeah, so
Jeff.
thank you, Chuck, for the update. So TechOn has been working with Scott. Scott put out the request for both geotechnical and for the wetlands. So our update on the screen, I'll skip up, we can go back to the community survey, but we have some updates. I just summarized, since the last time we were here and presented, we presented the three options, the renovate as new and new, and we were headed towards looking at the borings and survey and wetlands. So I'll go over that in a minute. Community survey, then there was the observer that came out shortly after we spent time at the carnival. So different level of turnout there, but I think the community is paying attention according to the survey, so I think there's quite a bit, pretty good response there. So I have the concept plan where we left off, but I'm going to go head right into the site due diligence and impact on the design, because there's kind of a path that we travel, and then as Kevin mentioned, we can take it if we would like into the executive session. So Scott handled and managed most of the coordination for the geotechnical piece. And then when we got the report, and I think the full report is posted to the share file, so there's a lot more detail in there. But I also spoke with Bldg Associates after they completed the report, and just to understand their preliminary report and the impact that it has on the design. This is here for basically just edification. This is the soil drainage classifications that Bldg used as the backdrop. And then they took a total of basically 4 official borings, and then they did a test bore. Borings 3 and 4 on the eastern side of the site are the ones that are the troubled borings. As you move towards the west, B1 and B2, the soils get better. So obviously, I think it's Muddy Brook, there's more silts, less desirable geotechnical subsurface conditions the further you go on the screen to the right. So if you go to the next slide. So the summary here, they did 5 borings, maximum depth at about 38 feet. There's a lot of clay, that's no surprise in Suffield, so we have to pay particular attention when there's heavy equipment moving around when it's wet. So we spent some time offline with the working groups talking about what premium or what level that would take related to the site costs. So we have some numbers there. And then these are just kind of footnotes taken from the report. So the footprint itself is about 85,000 square feet. The assumption was, because we gave them a boring plan that showed the building more towards the northeast side of the site, because we were trying to find a spot for the building. The presumption was that, without asking us, was that they were going to just raise the grade 8 feet over that soil. So what that caused for concern, which is obvious, is settlement, right? So the settlement far exceeds the settlement that you want to put a building on that particular pad. So that became a real challenge. So B3 and B4 on the east side have too much differential settlement. You can compact in lifts and measure the compaction in a series of months. We've done that, we just actually did that in Cheshire, but it's gonna delay the project a year. So it's not ideal, it's gonna cost you more money to bring in suitable soil, structural fill, so on and so forth. So the last bullet on the screen, B1 and B2, the west side, it's better, and there's still trace clay, but basically it gets us back to a conventional, subsurface with compacted 3/8 inch crust stone under footings and it's 6 inches under slabs with the geotextile fabric. So it's more or less conventional. I have a slide in here, that's kind of what they did on the, more or less what they did on the original middle school. So the conclusions and takeaways, both the east side of the site, whether it was the land that we were looking up towards the north under private ownership or under the current middle school and intermediate school site are not desirable. So I think that it's best to move the building towards the west. So that was, I guess, a very high-level summary of kind of what we learned through the geotechnical. So it's not as favorable as what Rebecca and Tony presented earlier. So what it's telling us is we want to be basically to the south and to the west in very simple terms to get us back to conventional. The snippet here is that's for the most part what they did on the original building if they followed the plans. This is a snippet from the 1964 set. So compacting in lifts, making sure that you get certain densities. This was the concept I think that we last presented before we did the site due diligence. It's a little bit difficult to see, but the dotted line here is the land that we were looking at to the north to make kind of this development happen. But that was before we did this due diligence. So now, with the geotechnical information, we looked at moving the building to the west. And then on the left side, I won't go over it, but we did a brief analysis coordinated with Scott and Colliers on the premium that would take, if any, to develop that pad. So that kind of came in around $500,000. So when you move the building to the west and you turn it, what we're trying to do is still maintain similar amount of parking, similar amount of fields. So that's kind of where we landed with that phase of the due diligence. And then the second phase was the wetlands report and survey. So this map here is what the sub-consultant came back with for wetlands identification. So the green area, which is wetland A, is basically Muddy Brook. It's has in the detailed report, which again is also posted on the share file, wetland B and C are unrelated to wetland A, but nonetheless they're wetlands, so that we need to deal with them. There's 3 total vernal pools, pool 2 here and 1 and 3. Those were essentially created because of what happened when this building was put in. They created a drainage swale, then put in structured storm water that has an outflow there. I'm not exactly sure, but I guess over time that created those 3 vernal pools, and those are essentially no touch from a Wetlands Conservation Commission perspective. And there's obviously setbacks to those. I'm sure you know them off the top of your head, but they're quite considerable.
I'll sit here and be quiet.
Yeah, they're quite considerable. So when you overlay what we just learned with the borings and what we now know with the wetlands, we're starting to push this building further to the west and further to the south. I will say there were some preliminary conversations about wetlands DE, and those I guess are, want to necessarily paraphrase, but those can be modified as such so that we can have more usable area kind of in the center of the site if this commission and the community so chooses to study that portion. So it started pushing us, basically around the site and back to where the fields are and or where courts are or where the building is. So it becomes a bit more challenging, not impossible. And what I wanted to put in here, just so you can kind of see the history of this. So these are drawings from, I think, the '74 when there's some modifications here. So you can see the swales. So I just lined up wetland D, E, F, and G from the report, and you can kind of see there's structured stormwater that then goes underground under the what used to be the track, and then out to where those vernal pools are. So that's kind of the history of how we arrived with what we arrived with on the site.
Then Jeff, all of that water is directing east towards Muddy Brook through that?
Yes, as far as I can tell, there was a structure, because way back when, and I'm sure others on the commission, there was, I guess at one point, some either pond or water. It's definitely the wetlands you can see kind of came through here. And obviously I think there's a drainage structure that goes under the mountain road, but I believe still most of this goes in that direction. So, and you can see when you go down in here, you can see it, and this one is not as well maintained. So the whole idea or concept behind this original drawing was to basically get the water around the building and around the track. There are some under drains here originally that were installed that I just don't think over time, over whatever, it's been 40, 50, 60 years, they haven't been maintained, so that's why this thing's kind of falling apart a little bit. But there is, when I was out there in the fall, there's running water continuously there, regardless if it's raining. So let me see what my next slide is. So then we looked at just another map that's included in the wetlands report that just talks about drainage classifications. So you can see moderately well drained is pretty much where the existing school is and where we're now being pushed on the site to analyze. So we updated the options continuously as we received this due diligence information, and now have arrived, and this is a composite of where we are now, just for folks that are watching or want to watch later. The blue, we just shaded it so you can kind of see the overlay and the relationship. So informal discussions, obviously, with the building over here, stormwater quality and treatment becomes a real issue with vernal pools. So this would likely have to move further away or be consolidated. Really what all of this due diligence information is telling us is we want to be over in this area as much as possible. So all of this information and all these conversations occurred over the last month. Where we are to date, just to talk about next steps, and I'll park it there. I have another plan, but we can discuss it and whether or not you want to talk about that in executive session, just because it's an adjacent area. So the options, just going back to where we started this whole this study, was the renovate as new. There were a couple different renovate as new. There was the one that I presented most recently, which was trying to preserve as much of the building and add in the center. And then we did one 6 years ago that was much more extensive for the master plan. So we might head back to that. This is a discussion. And then we can look at what we haven't looked at yet, because has evolved over the last month or so, is now taking a much harder look at this area of the site, and changing the shape of the building, seeing what we can fit in there. That might come with some pain, with, you know, relocating of some of these courts if we have to. But when you start weighing, you know, things like structural fill versus, you know, relocation of courts, it starts to, if new continues to be that preferred option, or I think we deserve, the community deserves to study it to see what it could look like here and what the impact would be. There's gonna be some modifications that we originally were told not to touch, so.
Jeff, I have a question for you.
Sure.
Does this new information and additional expense flip our conclusion that building new, appropriately sized is less expensive than renovating a building that's too big?
I don't think so. That delta was still pretty significant. I think what we should do is a refresh of, like, this other option that I spoke to, we need to draw it, look at it, price it, size it, and then compare it, do the same analysis that we did before, so that this committee can decide on what, or this committee, plus the committee can decide on what option is still best, so. We have other material, but we'll stop here, and if you want to talk about it, we can.
The draw it, size it, a little bit is, I'm assuming more about taking your existing plan, building plan, not necessarily completely redrawing that, but positioning that, maybe modifying something based on a new position, but it's site-related updates of cost and things?
I think it's gonna also change the shape of the
Does it?
building.
Okay.
I think we need to start looking, I mean, we've been moving the same shape around, but knowing that, that land is, usable land is of a premium, the shape might change to a little bit more efficient footprint, which makes sense. So it may take a little bit more time. I think when you do that, there's gonna be inherent efficiencies in, if you make a much more compact building perimeter, you're gonna have some savings there with, you know, the exterior construction, wall construction. So, I think, you know, we should likely do that personally. I think that's an option that we should continue, reshape it, look at what it, because there's probably going to be some costs related to, because we're so close to some of these site improvements, I'll use this, I know it's not the best, but related to, you know, phasing logistics, temporary separation, it's a little more expense than if we were building it much further up, so.
It looks like the site work there would be extensive to move the building where you're talking now.
Well, the topography is relatively flat, so I don't think you're talking a lot of earthwork. It's really just, it's moving existing site improvements that are.
That swale that goes around the track back there, wouldn't we be encroaching on that?
If we're staying on the existing site, we would stay out of it. If we look at the possible additional land to the north, we would probably, the grade change, believe it or not, between here and if you cross the swale is about 7 to 8 feet only, so it's not terrible. Yeah. So I think, I think it's gonna be less about earthwork, and it's gonna be more about,
Like moving tennis courts and
Moving-
things like that,
moving
getting
some
some
of
of
these
those
site
amenities
improvements
out of the way so
Yep.
we can use,
Yep.
maybe use that spot and build a new tennis court.
might be a little bit beneficial from a, I guess from a storm water quality treatment is most of your impervious areas are now a little further away from eventually where they're gonna go, so.
And that's helpful.
I think it's helpful, yeah, I mean, it's definitely gonna, I would think the commission would be, look at it positively, so.
Okay. Since we have discussions about possible land acquisition involved in this, I would like to move to executive session to have that discussion. If anybody would like to make that motion.
I'll make the motion, Mr. Chairman, we go to the executive session.
Second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
You need to invite Do you want
I would
anyone
like to
in?
invite Tecton, Colliers, Chuck, Matt, and anybody else? Brad? Okay,
Okay.
and then.
So does someone want to accept that friendly amendment then? 'Cause you have to invite everyone, so.
Would you?
Yeah, I'll accept the amendment
Okay.
that you just,
Okay.
those folks.
Joe, you want to second the modified amendment? Second. Okay. All right, and just before we do that, I would like to open it up to public comment in case people don't want to hang around for the executive session. So are there anybody that would like to make
Looks like
comments
Mrs. Copes,
on what we've learned so far?
unless there's anyone. You guys want-
Mrs. Copes,
Yes, hello.
welcome.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Oh, good. I thought I had to click on something. Thank you. So this is interesting. It is disappointing. I'm sure everyone's disappointed with the, but I do appreciate the due diligence that's been performed. And it's better to find out now than later that there's, issues with the soil or whatever. And it's unclear to me, and it's unclear to me, whether this fourth option that you're gonna come up with, is, you're trying to make it fit on the site that has been, that's one of the options that's currently presented, by turning it around and turning the building around, etc. I'm wondering, should we be looking at another site altogether, or can we really make it fit you're proposing? Is there another site near the current high school? So that was just a question. And as far as I'm concerned, the tennis courts can go and be relocated somewhere else if we can make it work. So, and I guess the last thing would be, when would we get a new revised cost for this fourth option? Or is it just adding an additional 500,000 of incremental costs there? And that's really it. So I think it's good that, with the work that you guys are doing, and just hope that it all works out. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else?
Nobody online?
Okay. With that being said, I'd like to dismiss into executive session, and we will come back out with a action if any is required. And we'll pick up on
So you have to
number,
turn your camera off, and you guys have to.
we'll pick up on number 11. Okay, so there is.
Recording in progress.
Okay. Victoria, you're back? Okay.
We are coming out of executive session at 7:32 approximately. There is no action to be taken based on the discussions in executive session. We will continue on with the options that we have for land available to us and land that we already own. And we will be in touch with the landowners to discuss further. Okay, so we've covered the site conditions, executive session, the action. Is there any new business for anybody? Questions? Okay, under new business, we don't have anything new. Public comment, opening up. Victoria, anything new since we last spoke?
She there?
No, she's there, she's.
No, there's nothing new.
Okay.
Well, can I just get clarification on what you just said, though? Is there a fourth option or no? Or, I mean, you said you're gonna move forward with what?
We are going to continue developing our options based on the land that's available to us.
Okay, all right, got it. Okay, thank you.
Is that obscure enough?
Yes, I think I understand, which is frightening.
I'm winking. All right, so our next regular meeting is on September 17th. And if we need a special meeting sooner than that, which I anticipate we probably will, I will call it and let you know. And probably 2 weeks from tonight. Unless we need it sooner. I did, I covered, Victoria just spoke, she's good, we have 27 calendar, we're the first commission in town to have our 27 calendar done. Good job, Chris.
Like you're efficient,
No, that's Chris, she's pushing me.
forget.
Leave it to me, Glenn.
Okay, I will take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you, everybody.